everybody. Welcome to the Lore Special AMA. Today we have Sinstar, Cinnabon, and Kant to answer all your lore questions. Make sure to use the AMA voiceless chat if you just want to chat, and the AMA questions if you have any questions. We have already picked out a bunch of questions to answer today. Just before we get started, we did release fishing and foraging quests in beta just the other day, and we're still working on squashing some bugs, so just sit tight for that and we'll let you know when that gets out to production. Next up, we'll be working on the item shop and the meditation circle so that you can level up your heroes. So you'll need at least one rune in order to level up one hero to level 2. And so keep that in mind. And also, people have been asking about this. Runes will be burned on use. So let's get to the questions. The first one is a good one for Kant. And it's actually, so we got a bunch of questions that are kind of the same thing. So I'm going to just run through all of them, and then Kant, if you could answer. The first one is from Warren, and he asks, what kind of themes can we expect to see with other chains? Is everything going to be fantasy and other chains are like different areas? Will other chains share the same lore? And then we have another one from Doppy Pope, and they ask, will there be a connection or expansion in story to collaborate with DFK's foray into other chains? And then we have one from Akuma, and they ask, will you be open to a multi-lore mashup, like Nordic, Celtic, Indian, Greek, etc.? And then another one from Black Sun 1978, and they ask, what is the direction the story is going to take? Or will there be multiple storylines to follow? Another question is, are there going to be big events culminating into the new universes, like different blockchains?
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So first off, the basic lore is that the world was sundered, and so these civilizations, they're growing up on their own, and they don't have contact with anyone in the outside world, and so that gives us the opportunity, whenever we do expand onto another chain, to set up a world that's a little bit different and has a different theme, and that still fits within the overall lore of the world itself. So the current area is very like British Isles themed, but there are a ton of other settings that we can look at, which we're really excited about. And that kind of opens up for that mashup that was referred to there, where we can bring in sort of different themes from around our real world and use those as settings within the game. As far as events, we definitely want to do something. It'll probably vary, by expansion. I'm sure we'll learn as we go. But a lot of that has to do with rewarding our existing players. So if you're already in and you're on Harmony, when we do our first expansion, we want to have some kind of event for you that rewards you for being in, something that you get to do that the new players who come in on a new chain will not have had access to. With that said, each chain's location should have its own history and its own lore. So there's going to be plenty of quests that don't necessarily interact cross chain, that are just going to be very local lore for a specific city or a specific part of the world.
All right, the next question is from Doppy Pope. What part do we players have in the kingdom? Will we have a place in the lore as an entity? And Sinstar, if you could answer that one.
Yes, I can. All right, so first of all, hello everybody. Good to be here talking about lore. Also a shout out to Matt. I do not know you, but I know you're from Final Fantasy 11 and I really like that character. So awesome avatar. So the player, yeah, we've had this discussion a lot, and we have gone back and forth on whether we want the player to actually be an entity or to just simply be like a godlike spectator, and we're thinking of going the latter. So we 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 kind of want the heroes and the lands and the game itself to be the characters and the things that are happening in this realm. You as a player aren't necessarily like gonna be referenced. So yeah, we've gone through that conversation quite a bit, and that's kind of where we're at with it. We kind of want it just to be about your heroes. They're the characters, and you follow them as just like like a third person spectator.
Thanks, Instar. So here's a really important question next. Where is Annabelle's homeland? And if anybody doesn't know Annabelle, you'll have to discover her in the game.
Yeah. So Annabelle's homeland. Yeah, actually, we that's gonna be um that's gonna be a region that we're gonna be kind of exploring further, coming up in like the form of like an expansion to where we're at currently, which is Serendell. Serendell's the region that you're in right now, what we have built out. We're building more though, and each region's gonna have their own like, theme type of thing going on. Annabelle's gonna be from the next one. So yeah, we're trying to cross some story elements. And so doing stuff like that is helping to weave the narrative into what's coming up next so that you're not just blindsided. So we'll probably put a lot more in about people from other lands and a little bit more information just in terms of internally in the game, like explaining it instead of us just kind of like coming out and saying here's what's going on. We kind of want to make it a bit of a I guess like a scavenger hunt for everyone to have speculation and thought on like, oh, what if the next place is like this type of biome or this type of region or culture, etc. So we're going to try to add a little bit more story elements involved in the quests that are coming up to tie into upcoming features.
That's super cool. I'm excited for that. And I'm excited to see Annabelle if she does show up in the future. So this next question is for Kant. It's from Akuma. I think I'm saying that right. Will the kingdom have their own lores, or will you recreate the mythic legends of multiple / specific mythology?
Yeah, so that's a cool question because like it's going to be some of both. I mean, there's certain story archetypes that I think have always existed, whether that's like heroes and their bravery, or whether it's love stories, or whether it's like betrayal and retribution type stories. So, no matter how much things change from like oral traditions to music to written word to now, like obviously TV and movies, but we're still kind of telling the same stories. But with that said, obviously, we're also always constantly evolving, right? So we can kind of mix and remix some of those themes. We can do things that are unexpected within that. And so, like if you look at the lore that's already out in the docs, right? This world and recovery story, you could look at that and say, well, that's reskinning like the story of Noah and the Ark, or that's the breaking from the Wheel of Time, right? But it's its own unique spin on that same sort of idea of a world that's destroyed and then it starts to rebuild. And so, we want to create our own unique thing, and we want to, continue to surprise people with what we're putting out. But if it's your thing, if you like stories and mythology, I think you're always going to be able to go in and see what our influences were and have fun saying, oh, I think, you know, these guys must be a fan of this story or this myth because they clearly were inspired by it.
Yeah, that's cool. Honestly, I can't wait to have more of the lore in the game. So, this one is for Cinnabon. What is the genealogical background of the sentient pumpkin? And this is from X Dutch.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Honestly, The denizens of Adeline and the rest of Serendale have studied these pumpkins for ages, and they've come up empty-handed. I mean, some say that if you study them long enough, you'll go mad. Personally, I have a hunch, though, that they're descended from the face tree on the world map, but that's just my hunch.
Oh, snap. Cinnabon is the one who designed the map, so I'll take his word for it. Okay, Sinstar. This is another very important question. It might be more important than the Annabelle question. It's from Cujo, and they ask, most important question of them all. Who is the person at the back of the bank?
Yeah, so I put down that's Mr. Lebowski, but also it's pretty much the in the first version of the bank, there was a guy kind of slouched sitting over in the corner, not doing much work, watching everybody else do the work. He apparently got a promotion, and so that is him. He just moved. He moved to like the head of the bank. So I don't know what he did to deserve that, but sometimes that's how life be.
Yeah, yeah. We
It
just
do be like that.
it do be. We just got this new design from Woostar, and he just had put him back there. So Woostar promoted him for us. This next one is for you, Kant. It's from Dirty Dan. Will there be an adventure mode complete with lore?
Yeah, definitely. So there's kind of a few ways I think once some of the questing comes out that we're looking at. So there's definitely going to be some stuff that doesn't have much tie into the lore other than tangentially, right? I mean, they're just going to be quests that you do when you want to get experience and you want to get loot drops and you want to do all the reasons that you would want to quest. And so those aren't really going to like advance the storyline in any way. But we're also looking at doing quests that are linear and walk you through sort of mini story arcs, right? So a quest that after you complete the first one, the second one unlocks, or maybe you're given information on where to find that second one, some combination of those mechanics. And then you may do a series of quests, and throughout that quest, you're unlocking more sort of lore about the quest. Maybe there's a villain at the end of that quest that you can defeat. And so that's definitely something that we're looking at from a storytelling perspective that should be a lot of fun. And then there's also kind of a third part. Hubert likes to call these lore quests that are really just centered around revealing more lore, whether that's about an individual NPC or whether it's even about like the heroes themselves and their classes. And so those kind of quests won't be really so combat oriented or profession oriented. They might even be things like using dialogue in specific ways or presenting certain types of heroes to certain NPCs. And then those quests will reward you in different ways, but a lot of that will be learning more about the lore behind the world, behind the area that you're in, even behind the heroes that you might own. So we're really excited, and I think there's kind of a good mix there of various ways to handle that and put more lore out into the universe.
Thanks. Next one is for Cinnabon, and this one's from Doppy Pope. Is there a traditional villain lurking in the dark, biding time to unleash his or her nefarious design onto the realms?
Well, have you met Tom? And in all seriousness, though,
Don't do that to Tom. Tom's a
Tom.
good guy.
Look at his eyes, though, when
He
you
has
go
red
in
eyes,
the
but
game.
yeah, he can't help it. I mean,
Well, he
was
has
just
like
born
a
with those red eyes.
shadow. It's a shadow that like covers his eyes. It's creepy.
I love Tom. Yeah. In all seriousness, yeah. In all seriousness, though, because we want the game to be like an ongoing thing. We don't have a singular. Like we want to avoid like a singular big bad villain. But we are building towards is having multi-step quests, like Kant mentioned, that lead up to individual villains. And like for personally, I'm hoping to have like a healthy variety of like some villains just being like, you know, mindless creatures that are like pure evil, and then more complicated, more like morally complicated villains that have like, you know, deeper lore connections that are, you know, name dropped like throughout the lore, etc.
I also
Yeah.
think with that, maybe a reoccurring instance with some like, I guess, bosses could be perhaps not just like completely dispatched. You know, they might show up somewhere else. That's one thought I wanted to kind of explore a little bit too, with like the chain dungeons, where you'd have a whole set of quests that first you have to do, you know, that first mission to unlock the next one, and etc., all the way to like, you know, 5 deep or something, and then you have that mini boss or main boss, and then like have story built into each of those little things.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that'd be awesome. I personally love a villain who is super complicated to the point of where you might feel bad for them, or like, you know, their backstory, and so they're almost like you could see how they went bad or something like that. Anyways,
Yeah, like a
I'd love to see that.
sympathetic antagonist.
Yep, exactly. I love that. Not just evil just to be evil. So Cinnabon, this one's for you as well. It's from Space Cowboy, which I do love Cowboy Bebop.
That's a great name.
That is a great name.
You must be a Cowboy Bebop fan.
Yeah. What's the story arc of the lore? Who's the big baddie? The scene is too idyllic right now. When are we going to see chaos and destruction?
Yeah, chaos and destruction. um, yeah,
Yes,
like
Cinnabon.
okay,
When's
so
that coming?
yeah. Well, okay, so what I could say on that is we want the map to, like, we've been talking about this quite a bit lately, and we want the map to reflect changes in the world to some degree. So, for example, locations might burn if they're being attacked by monsters, as just an example. Um, and in general, we're exploring like different ways that we can reflect story on the map. But yeah, right now things are relatively peaceful. Uh, and so the world is like a little bit at ease right now, but that sense of ease can certainly be shaken up.
Especially with the combat that we've started to draft. Ooh, it's pretty good, and it definitely is like it. You know, we started with a very homey kind of cozy vibe, but uh, we've always wanted to add a little bit of like um something's not right at the edge of the picture type of feeling, and so there are some creative choices we're kind of going to work with to have it appeal to all ages, I hope. To have something that does have more complex notes in terms of like storytelling and character development for adults. Also, you know, it is very inviting to a younger audience, but I think you're gonna see a lot of like chaos and destruction, especially when the combat hits. I believe that's gonna be pretty fun. Visually, just it's already looking really awesome. I've been enjoying that.
Yeah, the combat animations so far that we're working with are like look really good.
Yeah.
Super legit. Um, this next one is for you, Sinstar. It's from Elmi, and they ask, will there be a prologue or videos? Not sure if there's PvE or campaign mode, but I think a lot of players are more immersed into videos rather than text. I'd I love the way Diablo 2 told their story, so maybe you can draw inspiration from it.
Yes, I agree totally, and I think it's a very good idea. We do have some individuals that, have a knack for video editing on the team. So I have plans to, sit down with them and say, hey, can we create a task force for cutscenes, for example? Just some kind of visual mode of, getting the user to understand various things. Stories, one of them is what you're probably thinking of, gameplay and that kind of thing. So we'll probably be having those conversations. If we don't have that skill internally, we'd probably go ahead and check out, who's out there and what they could provide. But I think there's someone on the team Q. He does this kind of stuff. So he's already done a few promo videos for us. I'm gonna talk to him about this. I haven't told him that yet, so this might be news to him. But yeah, I gotta get with him sometime and see his availability if he's willing to do something like this, because I think that would be very fun to implement into the game.
Yeah, Q's been really awesome with like video creation. He's like he's like jack of all trades, I
Yeah,
feel
he
like.
does a bit of everything.
Yeah. Okay, so the
So
next
I don't want to
question,
like over utilize him. Like I don't want to stretch. But we'll see. I'll have to talk to him.
yeah, that's a discussion, but it would be really cool to have that. Sinstar, this one's also for you. It's from Kuma. Kuma. Can there be any elemental realms? And then there can be stories of some legendary fighters, mages, etc., who are long lost in the sands of time.
Yeah, there's the internal grove, which is our current like other realm type of thing, dimensional, planes of existence. That's the main one for like if you want to talk about um like Forgotten Realms type of situations where you have the planes of, air, water, etc. That's like that's kind of like the alt world of uh, our world. So I think that would be the main answer, but there is like we have been talking about lore in terms of uh, perhaps an afterlife for heroes. We're going to be discussing mechanics of burning heroes. And there could be some kind of usage of, kind of like an after realm. And but that one is still like up in the air. We're still trying to wrap our heads around the smart contracts of it and figure out what would make sense tokenomics wise, and so but if it ends up being one of those things we do implement, we'll definitely need to build that like afterlife out and come up with a interesting heaven and hell, I guess, all in one. I think maybe it'd just be like a Silmarillion type of void. It's just the place when you don't exist here where you exist there type of thing.
That sounds super cool. So I have like about 5 more questions that Zeno dropped to me, and I think they're pretty good. He felt that the community would like to know these answers. So the first one is about pets, and a lot of you have been questing and probably noticing some pet egg drops. So he asks, how will pets be related to this story? And Kant, if you could answer that.
Sure. So, yeah, I mean, initially, pets are more related, I guess, to the area than to the story. So they're themed, around Sarandale and the area that you're currently in. There may be some pet quests down the line where you can do a quest, and one of the quest rewards is pets. And we may see some themes there with some of our partners. So if we have a partnership, we may do a themed pet along the lines of whatever their whatever I keep saying the word theme, but it's the right word. So whatever their theme is, it might feature elements of their design, and then we put a quest in place that allows you to unlock that. And of course, your pets are going to give you combat buffs and do different things for you in the game. But I would say that they're sort of regional lore rather than they're not a specific part of the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Also, a really important thing to know about pets is that they'll be super cute. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, you can pretty much guarantee that.
Yeah. 100%. So, Cinnabon, this is for you. How advanced is the technology in DeFi Kingdom?
Well, so okay, yeah, the technology in DeFi Kingdoms is it's very much like late medieval, early Renaissance, like at highest. But magic does play a part in picking up some of the pieces where technology is unreliable. There is rumor, however, that there was once far more advanced societies whose strange machines can be found deep in the wilderness if you know where to look, but that's just legend.
Always dropping these mysterious things.
Can't help it. I work on the world map, so I get all these ideas.
Yeah, I love it.
Although a lot of this does relate to stuff that is in the public lore docs. Like in regard to like past technologies. But yeah, that's something that we definitely want to explore more, at least in the lore, is like is like their relationship to like some old technologies that are kind of like neither machine nor magic, but somewhere in between.
That's kind of reminding me of Breath of the Wild a little bit, because they had some sort of crazy, like, ancient technology on the land.
Yeah. I haven't played Breath of the Wild, which I know is like probably sacrilege, but I've seen plenty of images, and yeah, that's like the type of vibe. I was a big fan of Final Fantasy Tactics back in the day, so but yeah, that's similar type of vibe.
Awesome. Yeah, Breath of the Wild's real good. At least I think so. Hunt, this one's for you. How does hero summoning work from a lore perspective? Do two heroes summon another hero from another dimension or realm?
Yeah. So Necro was just talking about the Inner Grove, and so that's the place that the heroes were taken by Gaia prior to the sundering of the world. So they were protected there, and they've been living in the Inner Grove for a while, and so now this summoning is bringing them back out into our world, and so when the summons, like when the two heroes participate in the ceremony, it's their essence that's being used to summon these heroes, and so it pulls out heroes that are similar to them, and so that's why you see the genetics of the two summoning heroes passed on to the next hero, is that their essence is resonating with another hero in the grove who shares attributes with them, and then it pulls them out into the world. Also, unrelated, but shout out to whoever said in the voiceless chat, I own some heroes that I'd like to throw into the wishing well and send into the afterlife, because that was really funny.
Oh my god. We did mention, I think the last AMA or the one before that, that there will be a burning mechanic or some sort of dusting mechanic for heroes in the future.
Yeah, that's the one where we're in talks with how to appropriately balance that, because we want to make it worth it to do, but not too worth it, obviously. And so it's, I don't know, there's a lot of thought involved with that one, and then we'll have to work our lore around exactly what the contract says, and so it's kind of in the works, but definitely it's looking like we're green lit to brainstorm on it and go forward with that.
Personally, I'm hoping that I'm pushing for us to be able to like sacrifice our heroes to Tom.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Tom?
The more
laser eyes.
yeah, the darker his eyes get, the more souls he collects.
Oh man.
It is weird that no one's seen Annabelle since she broke up with him. I'm just saying.
That is
Just
kind of
saying,
strange.
just saying.
Well, we are at the end of the AMA, so we're gonna end it there. But I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed this discussion. It's a little bit more lighthearted, and it's some stuff that I haven't even heard of yet from the lore guys. So thank you, Sinstar, Cinnabon, and Kant for coming and discussing the lore with us.
No problem.
Yeah, thanks everyone for your questions, and
We'll see you guys next week.
Yep. We love you guys. Bye.
Yep.
bye-bye.